Okay, so this will be a feedback slash critique for returning Tooru. Toru? Tooru? I don't know how to pronounce it. Uh, Usual disclaimers, you know. This is just my 2 cents. Tekken nerd. I like Josie. I like Tekken, etc., etc., etc. So I'm actually really late to the game on this one because actually there were a few. Yeah, no, like just work got crazy. I just haven't had the time. But I figured I'd start with a more recent one. And if Tooru or anyone else is interested in more feedback, just on the previous sets, they can let me know. Or, you know what I mean. Honestly, as far as like the previous sets go, oh, I guess I should get this out of the way. What was I gonna say? There was like a set where, yeah, it was like just God, I can't remember. I forget if you posted it in Glee or you posted it in Critique. It was just like oh hey, shout out and improvement and stuff like that. No, I think it's really good, and I think even in this set, like in this Josie versus Lay set, I think there's actually been a lot of improvement from your game, from where we were last time. I think in the very last round, you just kind of you feel it feels like you're lost and you kind of drop the ball. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But Bacon Maru already responded to you for I believe the set where you got iced with over your the set versus Poke Chop, right? And I don't know, I felt like it was pretty good. Um, I would just go with what they say, and because there's like you don't want to be overloaded with too much information, so I'd definitely go with them. And then I believe Captain Yes was gave you some feedback and some pointed out some areas where you're like, hey, what's going on here? So I'll try to avoid covering anything that has already been said, and hopefully I don't do that. All right, cool. Yeah, let's get started. So right off the bat, excuse me. He's ducking your jab strings. And you're gonna see, and this is like normally it's like okay, well he's doing a bunch of jabs, he's just being defensive at the start, but it also speaks that he has some Josie experience, right? And you'll see this especially when he challenges you on a lot of your stance transitions, and something that you got to be aware of like okay, I can't utilize he is not necessarily respecting it, and he's on the lookout for like, or is he gonna do a crouch dash transition here and stuff like that? And he challenges you because they should, right? If they have the read, they know you're gonna go for it. Josie's crouch dash leaves are pretty vulnerable, and you have to like, kind of adjust for that with different options. So just be mindful of that, and that's something we'll talk about as it like continues. Like right there, he was ready for it, which is like fine. It just shows you like okay, I can't necessarily use the transitions yet because he's not necessarily respect like right here he's challenging you. He's not necessarily respecting you. So it's not necessarily don't use the transitions ever, but focus more on trying to put him in as much disadvantageous situations as you can to either force him to challenge you a lot more, which you then counter hit with your strings because they'll just power through anybody trying to press buttons, or he's just like I'm scared, I don't want to press anything, and then you get to do your transitions a bit more easily. How and when that happens is really up to the player. It's more so just be on the lookout for it, right? As you continue to develop and play the game, what is your opponent doing? Are they challenging you? Okay, start doing counter hit setups. Are they not challenging you? Okay, I think they respect me now. Let me try to do like a stance transition. It's about, the timing of things. Good conversion. And yeah, he really never breaks that throw. It's kind of crazy. So right here, I think you go for back three. Yeah, is you go for back three. I mean, the move is a bit of a meme in the Josie Discord. I know I'm not the biggest fan. I don't know if attitudes have changed where it's like somewhat more usable. The issue is not necessarily where you're. It's not necessarily how the move is like whatever. It's fine. My issue is like the timing. So it's just kind of like it's an awkward range you want to be at. Right here, you should be focusing on movement to try and disalign yourself from the wall and try to just be like, I do not want to be against a wall, against a lay. Like, I do not want to be, I do not want to have the wall to my back when I'm looking at a lay, right? Because any sort of stray counter hit turns into a wall splat, turns into Oki. It's just not a fun place to be in. And especially because you don't have to press any buttons, right? Look at your life lead, look at the lay's life lead. Why would you bother advancing in on this lay, right? Think about the situation, think about the matchup. The lay has a million different tools that just go, oh look, you approached me with a move, and this is Tekken 7 and your hitboxes are trash and I'm lay, so I'm just going to evade some bullshit, right? He is that character, right? He's like Ling, where you chase them down, you're in for a bad time. So don't, right? Just move out of the way, force the lay to come to you, and just look at how he chooses to approach you, right? Oftentimes it'll just be forward 3, and sometimes it's a mix-up, sometimes it's not, blah, blah, blah. You just kind of you got to get used to it. But the point being, the lay approaching you creates a far more favorable situation to be in than you having to chase down a lay, right? You'll see it in the layer rounds where forward, despite being such an amazing tool, just whiffs in their face, just due to the unfortunate range, right? You can overcome that with spacing, but you also just kind of go, I don't need to approach. The lay has to come to me. And as long as there's not a wall behind me, I won't be in the greatest position, because I'm not saying like Josie's keep out is great or anything, but it will give you more opportunities for whiff punishment, for baits, and stuff like that, as opposed to trying to chase down this lay. Like that. It ends up working out, so it's whatever. Be very mindful of where you tech roll, right? I'm sure you can control the direction. Just imagine if you did a mid, right? Imagine, like, anybody, you immediately tech roll into the wall, and then you're just fucked. It's a very risky place, so be very mindful of where you choose to tech roll. I kind of have a similar habit. I usually just press 1 for the tech roll, and I forget which direction that puts me. I think tech roll left. But, just always be mindful of your stage positioning. Yeah, gotta watch out for that. Nice! Yeah, you just gotta watch out for the high fall off. You just duck it when you think they're gonna do it. And he really does not break that throw. Rip. Oh, nice. You see, and this is where it comes down. Oh, nice. This is where it comes down to of like, no matter what button you press, it's always very likely that the lay just goes under it, and you don't want to be in that position, right? Now he gets a big launch, and your whole life lead is just kind of gone. I mean, he drops it, so rip. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. I don't even think that was an auto parry. Oh. Unfortunate timing. Are you pressing a button? Are you challenging it? Yeah, I think you just got mixed up. Say I love you. So like right here, I think you already committed to the backdash. Yeah, you already did a backdash. We'll talk about that more. Nice. Damn, he just does not break that throw. Oh, unfortunate. Just gonna get mixed up here. Up. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. See, so it's like that. It's like this where you're in a situation of you got to chase down this lay and he's doing his weird ass stance stuff and you just die for it. Okay. So like right here, now you're in a very interesting neutral situation. My first priority, in my opinion, right here, right now, you figure out what actually, I don't know what Josie does that breaks the floor. Break the floor however you can. The moment, well, focus on staying alive, but the next combo opportunity you get, just break the floor. Just just break it. Get away from it. My opinion has always been you take away as many you deny your opponent as many resources as you can, even if it's not exactly like the best combo. I don't think you have enough of a health lead to play around too much, right? So you're better off is that the next time you get a combo opportunity, just breaking the floor as soon as possible to deny Lei that resource. Because he has that like the 3 kick ender or whatever, that'll break the floor and then he gets an Oki setup or whatever, and you never know. Right? I'm of the opinion that it's just like, okay, I might not always get the combo, but fuck it, I just want my to deny my opponent the resource. If you had more of a health lead, maybe you can try and save it and gamble that you'll get a better combo slash payoff, right? But just food for thought is like taking it's again going to that stage awareness is that you have positioning and now you also have a floor break you got to keep in mind. Excuse me. Unfortunate with. And this is another thing is that so like right here, if the Lei were sharper, he would have just launched you because Lei has a generic down forward too, right? It's not like it's not an infamous one like Law or Paul, but it's a generic down forward too, and at that range, it's gonna launch you. So be very mindful with your approach, right? Whatever you do, make sure it gets blocked. Oh, whoops. Rip. Oh, that's like fine. So I'll talk about this more in personal tools and stuff. But like right here, I feel like you could have done down two into maybe some full crouch stuff. Yeah. Unfortunate. Oh, that's a big call out. I mean, you don't get punished, so it's whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this round start, I think you're better off backdashing first, seeing what the Lei does, and then going for like, a big call out with like down forward too. That's fine. Rip. He's gonna do the kicks. There we go. And I think no, you're not dead. Ah, a tragedy. Tragedy. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, I've definitely dropped a bunch of stagger punishes in my time. Oh shit. Nice. Rip. I think that was supposed to be while standing too. Oh, nice. Down four. That's still pretty good. That's a big risk. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, he's not dead. Oh, nice. Ended up working out. Is the parry really useful in the Lei matchup? I actually don't know. I don't know how many 2 buttons Lei has. Ooh. Yeah, it just feels like something happened where the control started to slip away from you in the match, and it just kind of got away from you. Okay, so did you choose random? Or are you just using this to get a breather? Okay. I'm gonna be real with you right now. I strongly disagreed with this decision. The worst thing you can do against Ling or Lei is give them an infinite stage. It's a scare. Okay, I get it. Going against Lei or Ling is very scary at the wall. It sucks. It's kind of annoying. But there is nothing more frustrating or annoying than having to chase down a Ling or a Lei in an infinite stage, right? I don't. Okay, let me rephrase. I don't think it's the worst decision. I do strongly disagree with it. I don't think it's the worst decision because this Lei has shown to be relatively aggressive. You don't have to necessarily worry about him just chipping you and then running away with the match. I definitely think it's like if this. I think they're just gonna use whatever Tekken World Tour rules are. It's that like loser picks the stage. I would just pick a more cramped stage to like give the Lei as little wiggle room as possible, right? You're just creating more work for yourself if you have to chase down this guy on an infinite stage of all places. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I don't see it ending well, but yeah. I also don't. Regardless, I don't think that he's like the type of Lei that's just going to be running away the entire match. He also seems pretty aggressive as well. Oh, never mind. he's going for it. Oh, nice. Damn. Nice. Those are some big ass reads. Ah, rip. Oh, I think it was just unfortunate timing. There we go. Oh, damn, you can launch that? That's fucking crazy. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. What time? What's the time of the video? 8:33. Okay. Mm. Okay, yeah, so it definitely seems like, I don't know if it was frustration or you're just kind of like not sure what to do, but a lot of like just a lot of like finishing strings that should not be finished whatsoever. You're putting yourself at risk. You risk like if he was more familiar with the matchup, you would have just died. So like low parries or other stuff. It's this overall running theme of you're committing way too heavily to buttons that you don't need to commit to. 8:33, 9:30. Okay, so like a minute. And this whole sequence, we'll talk about later. But ooh, rip. Oh, he dropped it. All right, so like right here, look. Who's gonna look at this and be like, yeah, this is what I want to chase down. Look at it. Oh, it's so annoying. Right. Any stray extra dash and then boom, you get rave sweeped. So definitely, I would definitely recommend just pick an infinite stage or pick a walled stage. It's scary, yes, but it also makes your life a lot easier because you can just as easily gain the momentum and restrict the Lei's movements and prevent him from doing anything. Okay. This is that's not like a rough one. Let's do the usual. Neutral, punishment / matchup knowledge, combos / Oki, personal opinion stuff. Neutral. I felt like you were strong at the start of the match, but as the match progressed, I couldn't tell if it was like frustration or Just you weren't sure how to like crack this guy, especially by the final round. You're finishing all these strings that you should have died for. Like 143 is launch punishable, right? And all this commitment. A core principle in Tekken, in my opinion, is you do whatever you can with you try to advance your game with the least amount of commitment possible, right? How much is 1-4 by itself? Just basically, it's like the lay wasn't. Oh, that's actually not that bad. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. The lay wasn't really challenging you, right? He just kind of blocked everything. He never pressed into a string. He never really challenged your frame advantage. He didn't try to do a bunch of like stance transition stuff. He just kind of played very basic, somewhat passive, somewhat just patient Tekken. That is a sign of kill the strings. Just stop with the strings, right? Instead of finishing the strings, just focus more on stuff just like 1-2, right? Because I don't think 1-4 jails. 1-2, just don't finish the string. Don't do 1-2-2 or 1-2-4 or whatever. Just do a 1-2 and then backdash or sidestep, right? Because you need to be working on getting information from your opponent. Of, okay, what does my opponent do when I'm at -1? Do they try to chase me down? Do they try to challenge me? Do they just stay there and take you? All right, and then every other aspect of your game plan should also just be focusing, especially in the early rounds, gaining information. Right? Is my opponent challenging my strings? Like early on, he was challenging your stance transitions, and you're like, okay, clearly this guy's gonna challenge my stance transitions. Let me focus on maybe finishing some strings. And you did like 3-3, but then you also did stuff like what's the string down forward 1-4-2. The string that you get as a guaranteed follow up after Superman Punch, right? So it was just a lot of like, okay, you're finishing these strings, but to what end? To what purpose? It never really felt like there was a purpose. It was just kind of like, all right, let me just press all these strings because nothing else is working out. You're not always going to get a very explosive momentum swing in your favor, right? Sometimes the best you're going to get is just kind of like a down forward poke, and that is perfectly fine. Because the idea is that you just frustrate your opponent and slowly build up momentum. Obviously, it's a lot harder to do with a low that does 7 fucking damage. But you just build up that momentum and chip away at your opponent, and then they'll get more frustrated and create and make mistakes that you can then punish on, right? This is not a matchup that you're going to win by brawling, right? The lay has too many evasive tools and too many just kind of like, let me run away and then, oh, you dashed a little too close, rave sweep, right? However, this is a matchup you can easily abuse like your punishment tools. Like you punished one of the Razor Rush enders with wall standing 2-1. I don't know if that's a real punish. I don't know how minus the low is. But you are launching the lay in a world that he never usually has to deal with, right? So your neutral and your game plan focus in this matchup should just be poking and frustrating the opponent by staying as safe as possible and then creating punish opportunities for yourself. So utilizing more down four, utilizing 1-2 into backdash or sidestep, just basically movement, right? Maybe the occasional crouch dash 3, right? You don't want to use it too much, but just use it, utilize your frame advantage and either continue to stay safe. You just have to annoy him as much as possible and force him to take risks to challenge you, right? What other aspects of neutral? The lay was just very passive. He never really launched your whiffed forward fours and other stuff. He seemed somewhat knowledgeable in the matchup, but not necessarily the sharpest with reactions, right? He never really sidestepped you that much, even though you used a bunch of forward throughout the match. So he didn't really sidestep much in the beginning, and he certainly wasn't going to sidestep when you did a bunch of forward fours, right? So think about the ebb and flow of the tools that you're using, right? If you do a bunch of forward four, and the opponent stops sidestepping, what does that enable? That enables CD 1+2, that enables forward 3, right? Not all the time, but enough where you're kind of like, okay, let me see if I can squeeze an extra turn out of here. Whereas normally they would just block forward 4, and your turn is over, right? Unless, of course, it whips in their face, which is a tragedy. So think about, again, what tools do you use at the start? What is your opponent failing to adjust to? Or, okay, this is like the fourth forward they've blocked in a row. Let me do forward 3 and then continue my turn and pressure. Or like earlier in the match, you did some sort of knockdown and you did CD2 and the lay almost woke up into it, but I think you were just a bit too early, right? So instead that could have been CD 1+2 because that shit's active forever. How long is that thing active for? Oh, I mean, it's still pretty active, right? Like you're active for like 3-4 frames. I don't know how to count this shit, but it's active for a pretty long time. So that might. Oh, actually, let me just check how active. So yeah, it's active for longer than CD2, which means you could have. It would have been more likely that the lay wakes up into it, right? And the reason you'd want to use it is because okay, this lay has just not sidestepped whatsoever. He's not doing a bunch of stance shenanigans. You don't have to worry about much. Yeah, I think I'll talk about more in my overall wrap up, but that's about it for neutral. Those are just my impressions and perspectives, our first impressions. Punishment / matchup knowledge. All right, look. I am not an aficionado in the lay matchup. I don't. It's one of those things where you either if this is a lay that you're going to run into a lot at this tournament, you bite the bullet and then, I don't know, maybe become friends with the guy or something and grind out this matchup because you need to become very familiar with like the common lay strategies. It's a fucked situation, right? Like this character's hella annoying, and I love me some Jackie Chan. I love Jackie Chan, but God, lay is so annoying. I'm just really salty because I faced a Ling today. And I just got my shit pushed in, but that's a whole different story. The point being, where are we at? Rave sweep, which is whatever. That should have just been hop kick, I think, but that's whatever. So you launch him here, awesome. Dropped combo, unfortunate, but that's whatever. This move right here, this little palm, and I think he cancels into the stance, right? Oh no, he does the kick. Lei has a bunch of shit like this, where it's a mid-high, right? It's always mid-high, right? At most, it's a mid, and then he cancels it into a stance. You will never have to worry about this suddenly turning into mid-mid, right? If by some chance you are, I am so sorry, but rip. 99% of the time, from fighting lay, from watching lay, it's always like a mid-high. The craziest thing it ever gets is that when he's in Tiger and he does the low-high, like the low-high thing that like knocks you down, that shit's crazy. Excuse me. So the moment you see this, you see the first part, you just duck. He either finishes the string and you launch him, or he cancels it into a stance, and even though you gave up your turn, it's fine because you just, do wall standing 4 or something and then use the pushback and get out of the way. There should never be a reason to let him get away with this move on block. And this goes for a lot of other moves because I think he does it one more time. I mean, that's the stance. That's that one too. Oh, fuck. That one as well, right? Right here. That's mid-high. The Tiger 2-1 or some shit. That should have been a duck into a launch, right? So you never have to worry about it. This is about like how proficient you lab the lay matchup is up to you, right? At the end of the day, however much time you want to invest into it is up to you. However, do not let him get away with these mid-high stuff, right? Any sort of launch opportunity you get is going to be huge, and that should be your goal. Just kind of like making sure that you don't let them get away with this stuff. It's going to be tough. Obviously, they're very fast, and in the heat of the moment, are you going to let someone get by? Sure. But just one launch, right, just turns it into like a big opportunity momentum swing for Josie, right? Like right here, if you ducked it, he would have died because he just hop kick and combo or whatever. That's about it for the matchup knowledge as far as I'm going to go into. I don't know enough about the matchup to just be like, oh, hey, here's the frame advantage you should be challenging him on and stuff like that. You just gotta grind this matchup. Another thing about the matchup, I guess, just in general, is that, again, picking an infinite stage, it also hurts you, right? Like, your damage is severely lowered because you can't just get those fancy combos into the wall combo into Oki where Josie usually can. So I think you really hurt yourself by picking the infinite stage. Just, I don't know, I don't think there's a reason to do that. I think it is scary to face Lei on a walled stage, but the advantages you get versus the disadvantages, just like the disadvantages you get from facing Lei on a walled stage do not outweigh your advantages, right? You get wall damage, you get to corner the Lei, you get to restrict the Lei's movement, you get positioning, etc. There's just so many upsides where they can help make your life easier. Anything else for punishment / matchup knowledge? Your wall stunning 2-1 I think is solid. I just think there are times where you could have just opted for hop kick instead for the better combo. I haven't done the math, but I want to say that the hop kick combos and stuff are just easier. I don't know if there's any distance issues. I think wall standing 2-1's fine. Basically, use wall standing 2-1 when you can, sure, but also when you can just hop kick for the easy combo, just hop kick, right? I feel like the damage and just easier conversions you get off the hop kick, in basically in a situation where you can do both wall standing 2-1 or hop kick, the hop kick is better just due to the easier combo routes. Like, you're never going to have to worry about dropping it, right? Wall standing 2-1's a powerful tool, and it's like, if you practice it, more power to you, but it's like, you never have to worry about, making a micro dash conversion with a hop kick. And I'm not saying, and like I said before, it's not forget wall standing 2-1, just always do hop kick. It's in a situation where both are applicable, I would just lean towards the hop kick for a simpler conversion. I'm also lazy, so whatever. And more importantly, Lei Rave Sweep is a stagger block. You need to delayed hop kick that. You need to delayed hop kick. Wall standing 2-1 isn't going to cut it. Not even hop kick. Hop kick's not going to cut it. Delayed hop kick is a huge momentum swing in your favor. You're adding on an extra 10 to 12 points of damage to the start of your combo. That's huge. So making sure to practice your delayed hop kick punishes, because one, it's a universal skill for the most part. I think like 90% of the cast has delayed hop kick at this point. So it's a super useful tool, right? And two, it's just the damage is so much, it's such a huge momentum swing in your favor. It's really hard to just go, just wall standing 2-1 or just hop kick, right? For now, do whatever is consistent for you, right? If wall standing 2-1 is more consistent, you go for the consistent combo, right? As long as you get the combo, I do not care. You shouldn't care. However, on the side, practice delayed hop kick punishes, making sure that you never have to think about it. The moment you see that stagger block, boom, you just delayed hop kick and make your life easier. And delayed hop kicks got buffed this season, right? You're never going to have to really worry about it whiffing. Maybe against Eddie slippery kicks or some shit, not usually with Lei. Combos / Oki. I talked about it a bit earlier, just kind of like, consider your combo routes and try to improve upon them where you can. It really just depends on the context. Oki. You have no Oki on an infinite stage. I don't know what to tell you. On walled stages, there were a few times where your back was to the wall and then you chose to do like down, or the Lei was against the wall and you did like down 3+4 and just kind of gave up all your pressure. Try to focus more on setting up stuff, right? Like I think down 2 on Oki is actually really solid, because then you can just cancel into crouch and then do like your full crouch mix-ups and stuff. I don't think you have to worry about him challenging with jabs. I mean, it sucks that it happens like that, where Josie just kind of gets fucked over, but you're not gonna have to worry about some Lei just going like, all right, I'm gonna jab check him and fuck over his crouch transition. Oh, yeah, and if you're gonna do down 3+4 on their wake up, just do forward 3, right? If you don't expect them to attack roll, if you don't expect them to stay crouching, if they're gonna block, make your move plus on block, right? Like force them to block a move that leaves you at advantage. I mean, that's about it for Oki and combos. I don't really have much else to add. Personal opinion stuff, options that I think are neat, but your mileage may vary. Utilize a lot more like CD4, crouch dash 4, turns into wall standing 4 and stuff like that. Just kind of like a nice, neat little mid check of like, hey, don't what's the word I'm looking for? Don't duck, right? It's very fast. It's really hard to challenge. There's enough pushback where you don't have to worry about being minus that much. How minus is this thing? You're -6, but honestly with the pushback, it's like, who cares? You might as well, you're safe enough, and you can, move out of the way out of most things. It's just a very safe option to use that can help make your opponent respect the other options a bit more, right? Like, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's not like crazy. I mean, it's only 16 damage for where some wall standing 4s are like 18 to 28, but it's fine. The idea is that you are softening them up to be more susceptible to stuff like crouch dash 3 and other options. Yeah, it's again just kind of like, okay, they're ducking in anticipation of CD3, boom, easy, free 16 damage, frame advantage, and start doing some counter hit stuff. Other options that I think are neat. Nothing else really comes to mind. I think it's just more about like tightening up your gameplay, thinking more about, okay, what are the tools you like using? What are the other tools that you don't necessarily use that often, but they help supplement your tools, right? A common example is going to be CD3, CD4. CD3 is super useful. It's super plus on hit, and counter hit, they're fucking dead, right? Easy knockdown, a lot of stuff. But it's something that a lot of people are always anticipating, right? So you do stuff like CD4, it's super fast, hard to react to, and no one's going to be able to like flash duck, anticipate on reaction and stuff like that. And it softens them up because you just do enough CD4s and they're like, fuck, all right, he's just going to do the mid. And then you do CD3 and then you get chunkier damage, some nice frame advantage to complement it, etc., right? It's that ebb and flow of, you have a low you like using, so use a mid to soften them up for the low, and vice versa. You have a mid you want to use down 4, use CD3, start making them duck in anticipation. And just trying to utilize a bit more of that. Singular moves that help achieve a purpose in your overall game plan, as opposed to, let me just keep throwing out strings and hoping for the best, right? It just feels like you're kind of lost on that aspect. So, give some consideration about what tools do you want to use? How are you best going to achieve that? And then, there's layers to it, right? And then the extra layer would be like, okay, what is my opponent not doing? He's not sidestepping. He's not really ducking that much. All right, let me just do some CD 1+2, stuff like that. Oh man, this video is way too long. Rip. Just a quick overall wrap up, right? I just think overall, I think you have strong improvements in areas, but it feels like, I don't know, like you just kind of tilted near the end, where it just felt like you were lost and you weren't sure how to advance forward, and that just kind of killed you, right? Combined with a lack of matchup knowledge, a kind of fatal mistake in picking an infinite stage because you're losing out damage and you just give this Lei all the room he wants to run away, stuff like that. So try to focus more on tightening up your commitment. Try to reduce all the commitments that you're making in strings and in your game plan. Focus more on movement. Try to bait whiffs from the Lei and then utilize your whiff punishment, stuff like that. Try to focus more on quick chip in pokes, and they're not going to be explosive at the start, but the point is not necessarily how explosive they are. The point is they'll soften the opponent up for your later explosive moves, right? Like you'll use a bunch of down 4, he'll get really annoyed, and then you throw out the mid, right? Just stuff like that. If you have any questions, if you prefer, the usual. If you're like, hey, I need more feedback on this point, or hey, I disagree with your point here, or hey, I think that you kind of talked about this point, but I didn't quite understand what you're getting. Just let me know. I mean, you're in the place to ask questions. Feel free to ask anything. And yeah. All right.